Hello everyone, I wanted to give a bit of a tour to my updated YouTube channel, so I'm going to put this video actually as my channel introduction here. But basically, I started a little project um, around the collection of news and just news and trying to find better sources for myself online. I'm a cord cutter and uh, trying to find good video news was a bit of a problem. But anyway, so what I found was I'm going to stop this. Welcome anyone to my new YouTube channel update. I wanted to reorganize my YouTube channel to make it a little easier to browse the web for news, just because I have been finding I just discovered a lot of really good news sources that are available online on YouTube. So I thought I'd, just for temporary at least, I'd redo the landing site of my page to try and share what I found and try and organize things in a way that if you're curious about surfing the news and trying to find information about what's going on around the world, and this is a really global approach to news. Um, well, my site. I hope my site can be some help. So basically, what I did is I organized my front page here. If you just go to my home page, and you scroll down past the introductory video, which is what this will be for the foreseeable future, this particular video. So my very first section I added is a live news. Now this is what I'm going to maintain is a active list of 24-hour news channels. There are actually quite a few of them that are available now online, and if you are able to speak languages other than English, there's quite a lot more out there. And I'll just sort of scroll through them and just show you as an idea. So basically, I've tried to organize these based on the ones that I found most useful. France 24 is a 24-hour news channel coming out of France. They actually provide live channels in English, French, and Spanish. And I've included all three of them in this live stream. So if you can speak those other languages, you can watch all three of their broadcasts. And I find them to be a pretty good neutral news source with a very large global coverage. And although I find they actually go to Africa quite a lot because there are a lot of French territories down there, and they also go to the Caribbean a fair bit. So, which is where I originally found them, was I was trying to find news sources when the hurricanes were going through the Caribbean early, or in the hurricane season last year. Al Jazeera is the next one. Again, excellent news source for certain things. Obviously, it's from a state-run media source from Qatar, but as far as such industries go, it's actually a fairly reputable. You just have to be aware that there's going to be, in particular stories, a somewhat of a bend, but certainly, again, they tend to go to the parts of the world where most of the traditional Western media doesn't go. So, for a lot of news, a lot of the world, they're the only source. This is the Deutsche World News, which is the German 24-hour news service. Again, this is their English stream. They also have a German, and I believe they have Spanish as well. Also, a good place for some interesting stuff. They also do some excellent documentaries. They have some sister channels that are also quite good. Euronews is another one. They also have 24-hour news. Again, sort of European-wide. Africa News is a 24-hour purely Africa focus, which is seems to be fairly decent. Some of these ones like that, I'm getting a little used to. And you can see there's some other ones that I found, like India. There's an India one too. When you get outside of the European zone, getting sources can be a little harder to find. But anyway, these are some that I found. Here's some French ones that I organized. There's the French France 24 French version, and a couple other 24-hour France-based news channels. There's the German feed, and then in Deutsche World as well. Oh, I guess I've only got. Oh, I guess there's more in there. Anyway, so I'll just go through the rest of the sections. This is my upload. So this is where you'll find the things that I'll upload. I'm gonna get back to putting content up here on a regular basis. But then I went and just found YouTube channels, and these aren't broadcasting 24/7, but some of them do have live sources. So in Canada, mostly CBC stuff here. I don't include anything from CTV, mostly because I find its news source tends to be mostly filler, and so I don't generally. I found CBC is about the only really good Canadian news source out there on YouTube. If somebody finds something that's decent, feel free to send me comments or tweet me at Jason Ross, and I'll add them in. But anyway, so these are some internet and originals. In particular, Visual Politic, both the English and the Spanish. This is the original channel is the Spanish channel. This is the English one. The Spanish one will occasionally have subtitles on their videos, or you can use auto translate, and that's true for a lot of news videos that are available. You're going to get mixed results, of course, if it's auto generating it, but you can at least get especially if you understand a little bit of that language that you're auto translating, it can kind of help fill in the gaps. But anyway, so they do some really interesting deep studies on subject matter. They're really great. Visual Politic, the English one is narrated by Simon Whistler, who does the Today I Found Out channel, and a couple others. And he does a really good job of sort of going in depth on global news stories and giving some background history and whatnot. So if there's a news item that you hear about that you may not be too familiar with, I highly recommend going there and checking them out. Vox also tends to do some interesting special features. I'll probably go and feature some of them as well. Vice News, occasionally you get some decent stuff from there. Actually, Exploration I just found as a link from these guys, so I haven't had a chance to check that one out. And Reflect is just basically somebody's taking, mostly it's American political, like actual video feed from the Senate or the House, from their House, Congress. It's usually political video, but I find it something that's kind of useful occasionally now and then. Whoever's running the channel obviously has a liberal bent, but the content's still pretty decent. United States news here is not going to be exhaustive, mostly because I find a lot of the news that comes from the States is really hyperbolic or just, again, kind of filler. I have MSNBC on here, sort of the token mainstream news, just because they tend to occasionally get into some good details, and some of them, like I find Rachel Maddow tends to be fairly decent. Bloomberg Politics is my sort of, so MSNBC is my sort of left bending media. Bloomberg Politics is sort of my right bending media. It's really hard to find good conservative political commentary online. Most of it's just been taken over by all the terrible, the dross that's out there. But Bloomberg Politics actually tends to at least talk about the issues from a practical political perspective. So they're not too bad. PBS NewsHour, again, do some decent stuff. Yeah, they're there. And then Bloomberg Technology, just their technological version of their politics. And sometimes technology has news in there, so I added it in. The only other channel that I added in here is actually a Spanish one coming out of San Juan, actually, in Puerto Rico. They've been up since a couple of months after the hurricane, and they do I believe it's a daily news broadcast that comes up on this channel. So again, you can either do auto translator if you speak Spanish, then it's a great sort of source about showing on what's going on there, and certainly there's not nearly enough coverage about the American Caribbean territories, especially since the hurricane. So it's a good place to go. Then I also sort of organized by other spots, Europe. So I just sort of took, so these are the actual main channels that I found. So again, France 24, they also put a lot of their content as individual videos you can watch. Euronews is the same way, same thing as Deutsche World. Channel 4 is a British channel, and this is their news YouTube channel. So again, a lot of their video goes up there, but unfortunately they don't live stream. BBC Newsnight is their Newsnight program. Again, it's really disappointing that the BBC doesn't stream on YouTube. And CBC for that matter. They're both public entities. There's no reason why they aren't broadcasting 24/7 their channel online, but that's a conversation for another day. And then some other ones that I found. So again, Deutsche World, that's the documentary special channel from Deutsche World, and there's actually occasionally good articles from there. This is a French language YouTube channel, another France news. This is Sky News, another English news channel out of Europe. And again, I believe if you click on this, there's a few more that I also have in here. World, so these are just sort of catch-all for news that I don't have enough for other regions. I've added them all in here basically. Although I could actually probably create an Africa channel, a section here as well, because I do actually find a lot of African sources. But anyway, so these are just the basic channels. So there's the Al Jazeera channel. Like I said, you can stream it live, but you can also go back and watch a lot of their video content. This is I-24, which is an Israeli news channel. They don't stream live, but they do put a lot of their daily content up online. There are a couple of Israeli news channels on YouTube. This is the one that I found to be the least propaganda-based. But obviously, both of them being Israeli, they're going to be very slanted towards the Israeli perspective. But that in combination with Al Jazeera, when they're covering the same story, it's often an interesting contrast to sort of see how these two sides will often portray a similar news item. The contrast can be quite revealing. ABC News out of Australia. So this is another news channel, but this is of course down under. They don't stream they will stream their actual news broadcast live, but they don't stream 24/7. So again, you can find old footage, but if you do happen to visit their channel at the time that they are streaming, that you can actually watch them live. BBC Worldwide. This is just the worldwide version of BBC, so I added it in here. Caspian Report, I believe, is coming out of I think it's coming out of Turkey. A Turkish news source. Some of the stuff, especially in the world section, I can't vouch for the integrity of the news of some of these channels. But I have gone to varying degrees on each of them to try and at least see this, if their content is primarily news or whether there's a lot of human interest. I'm trying to keep this focused on news first channels. So if a channel is primarily filler and mostly human interest and aren't actually covering major news items, I'm generally not going to include it on here. With one exception, I think so far, is the New China TV, because that's actually the primary Chinese television presence on YouTube. And it is, because it is state run, you're going to get a lot of filler and propaganda, but they do cover some interesting stories occasionally, so I've got it on here. Philippine News Agency from the Philippines. Don't know too much. This is one of the ones I've added relatively recently, along with Channel News Asia and the Dolu Agency. This is some Muslim country. I'm not sure exactly where that one's from too, but also has some news content on there. So like I said, this is going to be an evolving video as I sort of refresh and update this. And then the non-English section. So this is all the non-English language ones, and I found quite a few on here, including mostly, there's a lot of French, there's some Spanish on here, there's actually a Russian. This one also streams 24 hours, but it's only in Russian. This is from Guadeloupe in the Caribbean. This is actually a French YouTube channel, but they don't put a lot of content on their channel, unfortunately. But during the hurricane, they were streaming their news on the YouTube live 24/7. Yeah, so that's basically it. I'm going to cut this off now, but basically I just wanted to demonstrate that what I've done to the channel, and invite people to come and use this as, come back and visit. And as I find better news sources out there, or as I find feature videos, I'm going to start to do some content that's going to be news focused, just because I think it's necessary. But anyway, that's it for now, and please enjoy my channel. Thank you.